That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.
Hello and welcome to Content and Capable, a podcast all about following your passions while still feeling like a proper adult. My name's Sam and I'm your host. This week I spoke with Zevulous all about his experience on TikTok, especially from the perspective of data science and big tech research. Welcome to Content and Capable. It's lovely to have you on, Zevulous.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I've been following you. It's got to be very early on. I deleted my TikTok account after using it for 9 months to focus on uni and studies, and then I reinstalled it. And I think you're one of those creators that I remembered from my first round of being on TikTok, and I was just like, oh, I remember that person. Oh, I really liked his content. I'm going to follow again.
I love it. Okay, that's great.
Yeah. It's weird because it's one of those things where when you do delete, a social media profile or account, you lose everything and you have to start back from nothing. And look, I don't recommend it as someone who creates content on the internet because I like seeing my progress, but it definitely was an experience.
I think especially with the For You page on TikTok in particular, I don't want to go back to seeing dancing videos like that. That's just not for me.
No, yeah, it kind of becomes a little bit disappointing. Not as interesting to watch anymore. I do like my mix of Phil DeFranco, V-Spheres, and, various other news sources that I've slowly accumulated, as well as then that combined with what I can only describe as the chaotic alphabet mafia corner of my For You page.
As it should be. It should be.
There are days where I'm afraid to play TikTok at home out loud because I'm like, I don't know what they're going to be screaming at me this time.
Yeah.
It's nothing bad. It's just, I don't know, maybe my housemates don't want to hear.
Or having to explain TikTok trends to people who aren't in on it. I recently started my first adult job and they had a dinner where kind of everyone was getting together and they were saying, oh, Zev, you're on TikTok. And they started saying trends. And they were from maybe 6 months ago. They were talking about the little German boy, or what was the other one? I
don't remember what was happening.
There was a bunch of 40-year-old men just saying "bussy" at a very public table, having no clue what it meant. So they were just saying, oh, we should all say that on Monday when we get back to work. We should say, oh, today. And I had to figure out a way to professionally say, hey, please don't do that.
Yeah. It's hard sometimes. I have, none of my immediate family are on TikTok. That, in fact, my siblings who are old enough to have social media all have Instagram and they use Instagram Reels. And so the joke I make all the time is that you're always 3 months behind. It's getting closer. Every now and then I accidentally jump on Instagram Reels and A, slightly die inside.
As you should.
And B, I realize that, oh, wow, that trend is not that old. I don't know. It's fascinating to see people, especially because TikTok is so rapidly evolving and changing all the time. People, you can really see who last interacted with the platform, where they're at, what kind of corner of the internet they're on as well. That's really fascinating to me. There are, I don't know. Somehow I've avoided a lot of the TikTok drama stuff. The whole the Mormon mums friendship group, that drama that was unfolding the other week. I got informed of that through a podcast that I was listening to. Shout out to the ladies at Shameless who explained the whole situation to me and was like, oh, okay, now I understand why there's people sometimes making comment about this weird drama between these couples.
I'm just glad I'm not there. That is not a side of TikTok I want to be on. I respect the people who are, and I respect the Mormons, but it's not for me.
It's weird. Yeah. And I think it's one of the great, it's a testament to, I think, social media in general, is that a good social media platform is something that you can get absolutely lost in and then not realize that there's another portion of another community in there that you've just never interacted with.
I've studied hate groups and violence for so long. Don't even get me started.
Yeah. Well, speaking of hate groups and mean things.
Transition of the year, podcast host of the year, Samuel O'Brien, everyone. Let's talk about
well, the community guidelines shenanigans on TikTok, which is probably where actually it was probably some of the first videos I watched of yours were you asking TikTok to release their community guidelines, decision-making frameworks, and for some more transparency through the app. And I know I've spoken to a couple of creators, including Katiosaurus, who mentioned how it becomes really, really hard to be consistently creating content when there are people out there, using the app against you, and you don't know how to fight it. Where did you get the idea to just actually speak up about this? And B, what was the kind of reaction to that?
So Katiosaurus and I actually met because of this when she was taken down. A lot of people were reaching out to me because of the series I was doing, as if I had some omnipotent power to restore accounts. But no, so the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol happened.
Yeah.
And I was in D.C. I was watching police cars go outside my door on the news, all of that, experiencing it, seeing people as a white, scrawny man, people who looked like me storming the Capitol. And I realized this is what I've been studying. I went to Georgetown and had a focus on international security. I was like, this is what I'm studying. This is what I can focus on. This is what I can teach people on TikTok. Mm-hmm. And I've been on TikTok for a little bit, just doing math, news content, just kind of goofing around. And I realized, okay, this is something I can talk about. So I started making videos about, okay, here is what a hate group looks like. Here is what a hate symbol looks like. Oh, here were the flags at the insurrection. What do each of those mean? And that last one got taken down. Mm-hmm. For no explained reason. It was just, okay, this video has been removed for hate speech. And my theory was, I'm trying to combat hate speech. And I have seen literal Nazis, literal abhorrent things on this app that aren't taken down. I've been called things in my comments that I shouldn't repeat. My mother, my Jewish mother back in Indiana would slap me upside the head for saying it out loud.
Yeah.
And I just asked on the first day, I was like, listen, why don't you show us the community guidelines? Because I'm confused and I want to help.
Yeah.
It was never really meant to be antagonistic, but it, once they didn't respond and then they took down a few of the videos asking for the community guidelines, that's when it really started to, I don't like the term blow up because it gives a sense of virality that I don't think the issue calls for. But it started to gain traction and hearing more people with similar stories. Yeah.
And, as someone who does create politically, you've got an opinion in your stuff. There is, there's most people do, let's be honest. I sit here as a journalist trying to pretend that I don't have an opinion on anything. Did you start to see patterns in the way that those videos were being taken down? Was this where we started to see the emergence of mass reporting?
I think mass reporting has been around as long as the report function has been around. That, if there's a tool on an app people are going to use it. They might use it for good reasons. They'll probably use it for bad reasons, because typically people aren't reporting what they agree with. Like, no one, I'm not going to report someone saying, oh, Hanukkah is 8 days long, report for hate. No, I'm not going to do that. People report what they believe is bad, which is extremely subjective. So that hasn't really been like a sense of new to TikTok. Yeah. I do think though that there is a fairly consistent pattern of minority creators being taken down, whether it be racial, based on sexual orientation, based on gender, even based on non-United States. And my theory as to why they get taken down more than anyone else is because just the AI had a bad training set. Like, I study machine learning. I'm getting my master's in data science right now. And the biggest issue that causes all of these biases are the videos that they're feeding into this AI just aren't good. Like, and it sees a black person and goes, oh, we should probably take that down because someone's targeting them. Well, no.
Yeah. It's interesting because it is that thing. I remember seeing, it would have been a couple of months ago, videos about Indigenous Australians here in Australia who look like me but are Indigenous. They have First Nation have First Nations relatives, and so identify as what we call either Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander.
Yeah.
And I remember these poor people, especially, it would have been early this year, I reckon, but even around the Black Lives Matter movement, I saw a little bit of murmurings about this, were being called out by people who don't live in Australia for, you're not black. Why are you talking about this? You're not, your skin doesn't match who you claim to be. And this idea that, an Indigenous person needed to have dark skin, and it was so fascinating because then, as Australian, I have a deep personal connection to the First Nations culture here. I have, family who's grown up on Indigenous missions and, in the outback and things like that. And when I saw that kind of debate and seeing these people have to prove to these other people who were claiming, oh no, you can't speak on this issue because you don't represent that group, or, how do you have the authority? Why do you have the authority to speak on this? That's not what you deserve to speak about. Having to fight for the right to be able to have their voice heard was disgusting. And then, the subsequent, I'm just going to report you because I don't like the content that you're, there is a function on TikTok. I don't like that content, and TikTok won't show you that content anymore.
Which I think needs to be used more. Like, don't report people. Just say you're not interested. Like a dating app, for example.
Yeah, 100%. Or even, Instagram's got a really, really great feature of, I got to report an account every now and then, especially the really spammy and body ones that, are end up in the comment section of Instagram posts that I create or whatever. And I'm like, I'll report the account because they're acting like a bot. And Instagram will go, no, actually, we're not going to, that report isn't good enough. There's not enough evidence to show that. Automatically, they'll tell you and go, we're not escalating this further. Or, there is a period of review before a report, before a decision is made. And then straight away, the option is, do you want to see more content? Do you want to block or restrict this person from your account? And I think that the way that other social media apps are doing, and I know that, it's TikTok versus Instagram, and, I've had conversations with social media people about what is Instagram? Is Instagram going to exist for much longer? But, Meta does get it right a little bit with this whole, this is how the way the reporting system should work. And you would think that TikTok, with so many users, would have invested some money at least into this.
My theory is they grew. So a lot of people think that I think TikTok is evil. I've never thought TikTok is evil. Yeah. Like, I understand how you can draw that conclusion, but no, I wouldn't be on the app if I thought it was evil. It's just 100%. They grew so fast, and they have no clue how to handle these issues. Because when you are a small company focused on dance moves with Musical.ly, and then you get a ton of people blowing up over the pandemic, you don't know what to do. And that's really the issue, is they just were handed probably an impossible task, which Facebook Meta already had the capabilities to do, which Twitter already had the infrastructure to do.
Yeah.
TikTok was thrown into the deep end of the pool. And
it's hard because there are people on the app that want to help, like you, and one part is a bit of hubris, like all big brands. TikTok will never want to admit that they're wrong, but at the same time, it's really, really important that they do address, especially large creators, yourself. There are so many large creators on the app who have significant followings, have built out followings, have built out, a social media a platform over multiple platforms now, and through TikTok, and are now going, struggling to exist on the app. We've seen, as of recording, Elisa Myers has had to take a break from TikTok, the internet's most wholesome person, because of the hate and the vitriol that has been leveled against her, and she doesn't have any power to shield herself from it. Which I like is, it's this dynamic of that you as a creator don't have agency over your work. All of a sudden it can be taken down, but you also don't have agency over what you get to see, because because these people can write whatever they want and get away with it.
And it is the most excruciating part of being a creator, especially on TikTok. And it's why you see so many people try to diversify going into Reels.
Yeah.
Facebook has Reels now, I recently learned.
I don't like it.
It's terrible. I mean, it's lovely. It's wonderful. I incredibly support Facebook Reels in case anyone at Meta's listening to this. But it's difficult because
it's not TikTok. I think part of the shift away, I was Ben Brainerd when he was talking about what he earns, through different social media platforms. You guys have the Creator Fund in the US. We don't in Australia, and it's great. There is no way that you can make an income through TikTok. But looking at Instagram and Facebook and what they will pay, as if you've got an influential, creator, even like YouTube has like special rates for their shorts content. Yes, it's not TikTok, but these are other ways that your content can be making money. And so these people do have to diversify. And it's kind of sad because the content works for the platform. I'm always of the opinion that you make your content, for each platform. You don't, copy and paste content around. That's why, my Twitter posts are very different to my Instagram posts, which are very different to what I'm sharing on the podcast and on Facebook and in the newsroom. Each of them are fit for purpose. And unfortunately, we've had to stopgap it so that people are able to earn a living wage.
And I mean, fortunately, YouTube pays more than TikTok. I think Instagram and Facebook are getting to the point where they pay more than TikTok. I mean, Hank Green did a wonderful video on it, breaking down the economics of TikTok that I would highly recommend to everyone, just so we don't have to dive into the kind of intricacies of the pie here.
No, yeah, definitely. I'll link that. I'll definitely link that video in the show notes. It's very eye-opening, and I think it's part of the interesting aspect of making money through creating social media content. What has been your experience with that?
It's weird because if you look past like 3 years ago when I'm a sophomore or junior, I'm not sure how time works these days, in college, I'm just making a video for the hell of it. And then one blows up and then another blows up. And then I get invited to this Creator Fund thing. Oh my God, I'm getting paid to make stupid fucking videos on the internet. Oh my God, I'm getting paid and now they can take it away from me. And for me, it's always, I'm fortunate enough where I do work a 9 to 5 that pays me enough where I don't have to kind of rely on TikTok for that additional capital to live off of. I don't need to rely on sponsorships. Yeah. I'm very, very lucky to be a creator who's able to do that. But it is wild. Just, it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Even like, and as someone who, you know, has been told their whole life that, you know, you work a job and you get paid for the work you do, making content on social media where I connect with my friends a lot of the time, especially on, I don't know, it's weird the way that our generation uses Facebook, but, you know, especially, you know, on things like Facebook or Instagram where I specifically see a lot more content from my friends, but then also at the same time sitting there and going, oh, wait, you know, I could be being paid to just be creating content on the internet, and that could be my whole job. I don't know, it feels weird because it doesn't feel like it's a real job, but at the same time, you know that there's inherent value in it because you see the value and you create the value by consuming the content.
And that's why I've always had the rule since I began. I think this was it was my sister who told me this, my younger sister, who is very in the know with knows the TikTok dances, knows the trending sounds. She said, Zev, stop making content you think people want to see and start making content you want to see. And I was like, oh my God, that is so smart. And
100%.
To this day, all of my content, I actually would watch. And that is something I've tried to do because there are a lot of people who try and game this as, oh, what's going to go viral? What's the new hit thing? Mm-hmm. Back when I was starting, I used to look at, oh, what kind of TikTok should I post? What's the trending thing right now? How can I hop on this trend? And it would be from 40-year-olds who grew up with Facebook and kind of knew books really well, but didn't understand TikTok. And TikTok is so strange where it rewards not honesty, but genuineness.
Yeah.
Unlike
it
Instagram.
It is a refreshing change from Instagram of the less curated your content is, you know, a little bit more messy, the little bit more this is my life kind of content that you get, as opposed to even podcasts. You know, you don't hear a lot of people's messy lives on podcasts, but you do, you know, you hear a very polished content. Whereas on TikTok, you know, some of my videos are parents with their children talking about, you know, their expectations versus reality with gentle parenting, and, you know, a sassy commentary of their 3-year-old who is, you know, just decided to do whatever, or, you know, parenting videos of the child screaming and hitting this mother as, you know, the mother tries to calm the child down. And it's that content does really well because I don't know, people are looking for that realness. That's what they want.
And it's the best part about TikTok is it's easy to make a video. It's hard to make a video well.
Yeah, definitely. As you just said before, you're going into your master's. What are you doing your master's in?
I'm doing my master's in data science and analytics, of all things, at Georgetown.
Nerd stuff.
Such nerd stuff. Ridiculous. I'm just looking around my desk and there are formulas scribbled on Post-it notes and I love it. It is great.
I love it too. As much as I'm a journalist by trade, and, you know, by night I'm a podcast creator. No. But it's so fun. I did physics and chemistry all the way through the end of high school. I almost went into a double degree with journalism and science. I really have a huge passion for science communication. It's one of the key things I took away from high school. But it's so fascinating. You know, why data science? Why specifically data science as compared to other mathematically inclined STEM fields?
I never have to do drugs because the joy, the high that I get when a code finally works. I've had friends in college who have done cocaine, I went to the same college as John Mulaney, Nick Kroll. They talk about I never needed any of that, because after working for 6 hours on one problem and it works, God, that's the best feeling in the world. And I also was very lucky to have like professors who kind of nudged me along. My undergrads have a very humanities-based thing with international security and international politics. And I just had some great professors and mentors, Dr. Kimberly Sellers being a big one, who kind of took me under her wing and said, Zev, like, you should keep going with this data stuff. Oh, by the way, we're launching this data science master's where you can start doing it before you graduate from undergrad.
Yeah, it's interesting because, as you said, and I think, that the fields that you love mean that you don't feel the need to, not that necessarily that drugs are a bad thing, but you don't necessarily feel the need to be substituting it with something else. You could just do that for forever and you would be happy.
And I definitely think I'm still, like, I just graduated college. Like, I am new to the professional world. I mean, I've had internships, part-time jobs. I just finished up my second week of 9-to-5 work ever. Like, apart from summer intern. Like, I am still naive enough to believe that it's fun and interesting and great. But I also have a really good employer. I got very lucky where they are kind of saying, okay, where can we use your talents, as opposed to where do we need you to use your talents?
I definitely feel that. I've been working in a 9-to-5 job for 6, 7, 8, maybe closer to 9 months now. And I got employed as an admin person, and I've moved into a more legal-based field. I never studied law or did anything like that, but they needed someone to fill those empty positions, and they were willing to train me up on this. And I put my hand up because I can't say no to anything.
Yeah, I feel that.
And I'm not enjoying it as much as I thought I was going to. And it's hard because, as you said, when an employer employs you and goes, where can we best fit your talents rather than where do we need you, it works a lot better because you get to do all of those things. But, as soon as you turn around and you go, oh, I'm just doing what I need to do, what I have to do, you lose all of that joy all of a sudden in what you're working on and the value. You don't see the value anymore in what you're contributing.
And I think TikTok kind of, in a weird way, gave me the ability to try out new things. Like, I do not as much as some of my other content, but I do a lot of news-related content where I talk about data. I built a dashboard very recently to look at NRA contributions to senators. And it's stuff like that where TikTok has given me another reason to do what I was already going to do or share my interests with the world. Like, I can share cool articles and long-form data journalism through a newsletter I run. It's called This Is Cool because it's about cool things. Like, it gives me such joy to be able to share what I find interesting with other people who apparently also find it interesting. We are all fucking nerds just trapped in a ball going through space. And like, all of us like reading, oh shit, the Marshall Project just plugged a new thing. Hell yeah. Like, it's wild. I've recently got into subscribing to email newsletters from creators. I think the one that triggered it all was Tom Scott had revamped the way he was running his channel a little bit, and he put out a newsletter that comes out every week, and it lets you know what videos are coming out for the week, and then things that he's found on YouTube that he really enjoys, as well as things from the wider parts of the internet. And because I really love Tom Scott's sense of humor and the content, I've been following him for forever. It was really fascinating to sit there and I scroll through it. It often comes out Tuesday morning at like 2 a.m. So Tuesday morning when I'm sitting in the radio station, a bit bleary-eyed, scrolling through it. And it's always fascinating. There's some ridiculous headline that he's found and things like that. It's like, these are these curated lists, these,
different aspects are always way more fun to read and interact with than even just your algorithm-driven newsfeed, which is kind of depressing as a journalist, but it is way more fun if you can find, a wacky article, or, you play the Florida Man game, or, every other, interesting things that you wouldn't normally read.
So I, about 6 months ago, got really into email newsletters, not as a way to like follow my favorite creators, even though it's a great way to support creators, just because of news. Like, I just didn't feel like I knew enough about the world, even despite like going to Georgetown and learning international politics. It was all theory. There wasn't a lot of current stuff. And then I just created a new inbox within my Gmail where all my newsletters go towards. I have a special email address where it all filters towards that. I get maybe 40 a day, and it is my favorite thing to do, to just sift through them, find these ridiculously cool articles on websites I've never even heard of, doing journalism that's either incredibly important, incredibly powerful, or so much fun. There was a great article in The Guardian that I haven't stopped thinking about the life of a vending machine. Like, in just one day, what goes, and stuff like that. That brings me such joy, and I'm glad that I can share it with people, whether it be through TikTok, through a newsletter. I should probably start doing YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all the stuff I should probably do more of as a creator.
Yeah, but even then, like, it also is like a little bit less energy intensive as well. You're sharing your joy, so the energy you get from that content is then transferred to creating more content and sharing that information with, your follower base. And I think that is part of the reason why, as we were talking about before, the more real content works so well on TikTok, but also part of the reason why you see people who share the things they love last a lot longer on the internet than people who turn their things into a bit of a manufacturing process and doing what the audience wants. Because
it's a big game of show and tell. And if you're going in like, oh, here's the stick I found on the ground, and you're not into sticks, like, it's kind of all right. Yeah. But if you go, my favorite account on TikTok is called Rating My Grapes, where all this person does is rate the grapes that they are eating. And
I love that. That's amazing.
They'll sometimes do like an orange and say, large scrape, weird skin, 0 out of 10. And it is the funniest shit I've ever seen. And it's stuff like that where people are like sharing what they find interesting. That's always the most, to me, there's a certain beauty in it. And I understand that's kind of a bit naive and the anti-tech monopoly.
I think it's not naive at all. I think that it really shows that the value in social media. I have people who talk to me all the time, especially older people, not to say that, who don't understand what social media is, how it works. They go, I can never understand how you're so on top of everything. And, why does social media have value? It doesn't make sense to me as to why social media has value. And I understand that, very, very aware. As someone who grew up without social media and only really got on social media after leaving home, not by any restrictions from my parents or anything. It was just something that never really occurred to me to use social media. But then coming in and watching that content, the value and the inherent addition to your life of, people being real about themselves, people going, I'm not having a great mental health day, or asking dumb questions like, especially Formula One, going, oh, what is this? Why is this happening? Can someone explain to me, these things, learning new things, taking new hobbies, having new passions. And I think that like many things, I think that is where the value that social media and by extension the internet has.
Oh, it's one of the most beautiful things. And like, I am interested in kind of the study of hate just because it's so fascinating to me. And like, I've done research on the dark web, the deep web. Well, I suppose just the dark web. just trying to figure out all of this stuff and the way the internet has been used to fuel dissent, like studying the Russians and the U.S. elections, studying all of that stuff. And it's nice to take a step back and say, oh my God, this is really a thing. Like, people are able to share their passions. And there's a good side to that, and there's a downside to that, obviously, of people starting to feel like they have everyone is deserving of an audience. I hope that comes across right, where it's...
No, yeah, 100%. There is almost this expectation of, why haven't I blown up yet? Why am I not, this big influential creator? It's like, not everyone gets to do that, and that's totally fine.
And it is a combination of luck, skill, and luck again. Because, like, I've had friends who work far harder than me on videos. Ridiculously talented videographers who I think should be in Hollywood shooting movies, and they just can't get the same kind of traction. And I wonder every day why. This is the type of shit I like. This is high quality stuff. But I just think I get lucky. The algorithm picks me. The all holy For You page just went, oh, that Jew, we'll pick him. Like, that's kind of how it feels sometimes.
Here's our diversity quota. Tick.
Literally. Oh, we've had an uptick in neo-Nazis. Let's show off a few Jews. Like,
because that's going to work. Oh, it's fascinating. Like, I don't know. I really enjoy, like, just looking at all that content, and on the other aspect, finding those reasons as to why things are happening. And I always hate being that journalist who is, like, looking at TikTok trends and, like, almost is tempted to write an article about it. I have a video that should probably be released on my TikTok feed at some stage about, and it's really fascinating. I've heard complaints and I've heard stories about people having bad experience with journalists, obviously because journalists are so focused on their medium, they don't necessarily understand things like TikTok and bits and pieces like that. As someone who pretends to be a journalist by day, and then it lives on TikTok at night.
It counts.
It's fascinating to watch these journalists who may not understand the platform, how it works, have done all their research that they could have done, make these content creators quite disappointed in their experience with interviews. And it's kind of sad because these content creators do great work. They have really positive interactions on social media. They make these really great, what I'll call, industry connections between creators. There's a network there, and then they jump onto the mainstream media. They make that leap through to the proper stuff in very heavy air quotations there. And then all of a sudden they're disappointed because there is no, it's not much different. There is still this misunderstanding. There is still the hate and vitriol. It's interesting. There's an investigation that was released a day or two ago as of recording about climate change and negative news reporting on it. I think it might be Australia specific. It might be all around the world, but they identified Sky News here in Australia, which is Fox News but Australian,
right,
as the main contributor for negative climate change talking points. And it was fascinating because that, there is still that negativity in the mainstream media. You're not going to have the perfect experience, but it's so sad that creators, their first experience with the mainstream media is negative.
Because we as creators grow accustomed to what we're good at or what we're used to. I see people making the jump from TikTok to YouTube, and I have made a few YouTube videos. I have no clue what the fuck I'm doing. I know that on TikTok, if I do this, add in a little bit of this, maybe screw around a little bit, add in some free-flowing creativity and maybe a pun, it'll do decent. I go to YouTube and I did one on why Americans just don't know anything about war. And it did terribly, as it should. It was a bad video because, like, I just don't understand what works there. I know what works for me. And I think, like, one person who did it really well was V at Under the Desk News, who's been somewhat of a mentor to me as I've kind of grown up in my TikTok journey. And they made the leap, but they were able to do it because they started running the LA Times TikTok. Not because they went on as, I'm a youth correspondent with CNN. No, they ended up just transferring their skills to LA Times, and LA Times was like, you know what, they're great, and they are.
I really appreciate LA Times, the Washington Post, and the Guardian Australia. If there's any three news sources that you want to follow on TikTok, those three are really great. The people who run them, the teams that run them, know what they're doing. They're all digital natives, which is, I think, is the other thing that mainstream media doesn't get quite right, is that they try to wedge horn their existing content into, as we're saying, it's not fit for purpose. Wedge horn that existing content into a platform that it's not going to work on. Whereas, you know, the chaotic team of three that is the Washington Post's TikTok account, and the thousands of characters they've created over the past year and a bit, have really hit it off really well. And, you know, V with their LA Times content in a very similar format to what was super successful on V's channel is working there, and then now they're experimenting a little bit more with different ways to produce it with a larger team. In the Guardian's case, so the Guardian Australia has a really great TikTok account run by this most amazing journalist, Matilda Bosley, and she just was...
write that down.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite journalists, very chaotic, and does these really great explainers of what's going on in Australia, and starts with the headline and goes, you might have seen this headline, and then explains what's happened and why we've gotten to this case and what are the next steps from here. All while, because a lot of the time, and I think she was working on the account while working from home. It's all at home, so it's all like her in different aspects of the house, you know, props, you know, obviously funny videos. At one stage, we had our federal election, it would have been a month ago now, and she was talking about how her bosses wouldn't let her say, so the two main competitors for the leadership were Scott Morrison and Anthony Albanese, and we reduce their names because we're Australian. We don't believe in full names. So ScoMo and Albo.
Of course.
On election night, she wanted to put out a TikTok that was just like, they're really working their ScoMusi and their Albusi out there. And it was just like, and the bosses were like, no, you can't do that. Like, you know, we understand, not now. But it was like this whole thing of, you know, creating content that is entertaining while also, you know, giving that bit of medicine as well with the sugar. It's very fascinating. And I think it's one of those aspects where we're going to see more content from major brands that work. Look at Duolingo. Like, we're going to see, you know, these brands become a lot more personal and a lot more valuable to the younger generation because they can see a personality in them.
I mean, of course, the tech critic in me, because I am a fairly big critic of big tech, if you couldn't tell, is petrified of that. Mm-hmm. Is petrified of the anthropomorphizing of companies in the way, like, there's a TV show Community, which is big in the US. I'm not sure how it fares in most.
Yeah.
They have an entire subplot about a guy named Subway and the attempt to anthropomorphize Subway. Companies aren't your friend.
No.
Like,
they're not. And it's this ethical dilemma where, do you trust Duolingo with your personal information? You know, I'm fairly privacy conscious. I'm a little bit more lax with a couple of things. But knowing that, you know, these companies then, I think I was watching a video the other day about privacy and tracking and how far, say a company like Google can track you and how much information they can get off you, is scary. And we live in the digital age. Part of the cost of using things for free is having to deal with that. But at the same time, it is still terrifying to sit there and go, I actually don't know whether whether my data is going to be leaked and I'm going to, maybe lose access to my privacy. As people in the public eye, a lot of your privacy is taken away as people in the public eye. But, at the same time, there are still other things that I want to keep private, experiences that I've had, things about my family and my work that I just don't want to share publicly on the internet.
That, in addition to being company, that was one of the big realizations I had to come to as a creator, is that there is a very big difference, at least for me, between Zev Burton, and Zevulous.
Yeah.
And it has been a rift in several relationships I've had where I don't feel comfortable. Like, for example, I don't feel comfortable talking about my dating life on there. I don't talk about my family. When I was looking for a new apartment to live in, one of my biggest issues was security.
Yeah.
Because I need to make sure that a crazy follower, even though they may be intending well, or a neo-Nazi, just as a prominent Jewish figure, that too, being very, very cognizant of what I share on the internet, what I allow myself to post.
Yeah.
Because there's the difficulty, of being a creator that people want to be friends with, or at least that's that's the goal. There's a very parasocial relationship there where I don't go on dating apps anymore. It's just, I'm sick of being recognized.
Yeah. It's terrifying as well, because once you put your name out there, you do lose that aspect of your privacy. People know who you are. People know roughly where you live. And if they see you on the street or they recognize you, while it might be nice to, some creators do encourage it to say hello and, go,
I always do. It's one of my favorite things when people recognize me on the street, come up and say something. I have a PO box that I use. I keep all of my letters up, right behind my mirrors as a reminder of the goodness that I'm doing for people. It's just the crazy people. It's the neo-Nazi. If the people in my comments came to life and started knocking on my door, well, I'm glad I have 3 locks on it.
Yeah, 100%. It's terrifying because, there is an aspect of people who don't like the work you do. As a journalist, I've been accused multiple times of lying and hiding the truth. And what was it? The other day, someone asked me why I don't report on chemtrails. And I was like, you know what? I don't have enough evidence to support the claims that you've just made to me for 15 minutes straight. And I've now got to try to gracefully in person back away out of this situation before you get mad at me and decide that you're going to start abusing me and make me feel very unsafe.
And it's always just one of the things that's so scary is people. There was a really good thing I saw on Twitter where it was a celebrity said, "Oh, happy Pride Month." Someone commented, "Oh, are you part of the community?" Another person said, "Oh, my letters are none of your business."
Yeah.
And the expectation of sharing, there are a few opinions that I hold that I don't share on TikTok for a variety of reasons, whether it be stemming from my Judaism or stemming from my own safety and the safety and stuff like that.
It's
I'm not going to make any kind of statement on my local elections because I don't want people knowing where I am. People know generally where I am, but y'all ain't going to know.
It's the same here as a journalist. You're expected to be, very unbiased and not have an opinion or anything. I work for a radio station that is quite left wing. I don't, have. The radio station makes a point of being, progressive in its values. And, when certain political candidates won in the federal election in our local area, there were celebrations to be had. And someone posted a video, and I'm not going to reveal my opinion on whether I agree with that, with the people in the local area winning or not, but someone posted a video of me dancing in the studio because we were listening to some bangers of tunes while we were on. It was a 6-hour live broadcast. We were going a little crazy at that point. And someone posted a video to the radio station I work for, 4ZZZ's news feed on Facebook, of me dancing, going, sounds really, really enjoying tonight. And some people associated that with the people who won. And no, I immediately saw that was going to happen, and I shared it to my personal feed, and I said, look, the music was bopping. What an amazing night to be live on air, something to that effect. Because I didn't want to reveal what my opinion was, because at the time, we didn't know exactly who was going to win or by how much. It was a very tight race. In fact, the electorate that I'm sitting in right now wasn't announced until about 2 weeks after the election was finished. And B, I didn't want people to assume that I felt a particular way on particular candidates. I have family members who are conservative. I have family members who are quite progressive. I have, an audience of people, not that I like to pretend that I'm influential, but I have an audience of people I've got to be unbiased for, because that's the content I create. I'm a journalist. I'm not a personality. I'm not a lobbyist. I am not that. Anyway, I'm here to report the facts.
And I think that is where journalists and creators differ, because I do consider myself more in the activist sphere, especially when it comes to Judaism and democratic politics in the U.S. Like I work with the DNC fairly often, the Democratic National Committee fairly often. Like, I have made my thoughts on gun rights, abortion, all that stuff fairly clear. And like, if I was a journalist, I'd be a shitty one. Like, I'd report the facts, but also say, oh yeah, how's this for some facts? How's this some data? And it's all objective data, but it's just like, there's obviously, especially with the limited time, the data that I choose to show that I think is the most convincing.
It's fascinating. And Twitter is this awesome space as well, where a lot of journalists who work for organizations they believe in or have made decisions about, their opinions and want to share those opinions. That's the space where a lot of journalists, at least in Australia, share their opinions. So it was fascinating on election night to see people who worked for small community news outlets or left-wing media organizations celebrating a left-wing win, while, also then all of a sudden you jump to the websites that they work for and it's very straight down the line, unless it was pedestrian or those kind of sites where it's like, we know your opinion. Like, that's just part of and setting that precedent of, this is my opinion. This is what I like. And so looking to the future, what do you... I know it's really hard in the weirdly evolving state that is social media. We've talked about it for the last hour. What are your kind of hopes and dreams for your platform and follower base?
I am very much torn between wanting to engage my current following as much as I can and be I am torn between being 220,000 people's favorite creator.
Yeah.
Or wanting to be 3 million people's 10th favorite creator.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure which one I fall in. I'm lucky enough where, as I've said before, I don't need the revenue from TikTok. It is definitely a great help. It allows me to afford clothes and stuff like that because I have a 9-to-5 that I'm able to work.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure. I think there's my sister told me when I first started, okay, 100,000, that's when you become TikTok famous. And I always thought to myself, that'll never happen. And then I hit it. And then now for me, going on 225, it's like, okay, come on, that's not famous. 1 million is famous.
Yeah.
And deep down, I'm like, oh, but that'd be such a nice number. That little 1.0 M, that'd be so nice.
Yeah.
And then it's one of those things where I really enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the content I put out. I really enjoy the friends that I've made through TikTok. I think that is something. I had a relationship through TikTok. They also lived in DC, but that's we met through TikTok. Some of my closest friends are through TikTok.
Yeah.
And I want to keep seeing that platform grow, but I very consciously don't want to do it in a way that isn't true to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know what that means for the future. I am at a very pivotal point in my life where I've graduated college. I'm beginning a 9-to-5. I now have a lot more time in the evenings. Mm-hmm. When I don't have class or I'm not doing stuff for that, I'll have more time. Am I going to dedicate that to reading I've got 8 books on my side table right now I want to get through within the next month? Or do I spend time making videos? Mm-hmm. And I think for me, I haven't made a decision. I doubt I'll ever make a decision on that because I love them both so much. But one of the most influential conversations I ever had was with a creator, who called Abe. And I love Abe. Abe Gurko is his full name. And we talked when I was at maybe 75K. I had launched from 20K to 75K in the span of a month. I didn't know what I was doing. I told him, once it stops being fun for me, I think that's when I'll stop. And he, who is much older than I am, even though he'll refuse to admit it, and I will refuse that I ever said it, he said, no, there's now a responsibility that you have as someone with your following. This was when I had a third of the following I do now. There's a responsibility that you have to kind of be a trusted source, especially when I deal with information issues, especially when I deal with Judaism issues. I have people tagging me now in videos that come across their page that have very bad Nazi dog whistles on them. And I just, I'm still trying to grapple with that responsibility.
Yeah. And
I want to continue doing this. I hope I can continue doing this. I hope my account doesn't get banned. Who knows? Yeah. I'm just trying to have a good time while I'm still here.
Yeah, 100%. Would you ever consider doing content creation full time?
The
panic in your eyes there for that hot second.
It's one of those things where I come from Indiana, a rural, Mike Pence, the former vice president of the United States, went to church a mile away from where I grew up.
Yeah.
The way I was taught, you grow up, you go to college if you're lucky, you work a 9-to-5, you and your wife, always a wife, you and your wife push out 2.4, maybe 2.5 children, and then you die.
Yeah.
I'm still coming to terms with the fact that I create videos on the internet and I get paid for it. I get to come on podcasts because I make stupid fucking jokes. Or every now and then I make a Jewish point, or every now and then I say something kind of intelligent. That is wild to me.
Yeah.
If I'd go back to middle school when I was wearing the basketball shorts that were way beyond my knees, my scrawny arms, and be like, hey, you're going to be someone someday. And it's not going to be an important business person or a politician. You're going to make videos on the internet. You know that thing on the phone that you flip up whenever you go onto it, you have to panic because your parents have to pay. Yeah, that's going to be how you pay for beer.
Yeah, 100%. It's terrifying. If I told myself we don't have middle school, it'd be early high school is the equivalent.
Yeah.
If I told myself at the age of 14 that I would be sitting in a radio station recording a podcast at 8 o'clock in the morning before going back up to manage the rest of my newsroom and then go out and run 2 university clubs, you know, be going across to the US by myself, which, by the way, by the time this comes out, I will be already in the US, enjoying
welcome.
everything. I'm looking forward to it. You know, I will, you know, be... you know, I've had the opportunity to go and do these amazing things. I've had experiences all around the world. And if you told my 14-year-old self that, they wouldn't believe. Like, it's fascinating to look back on where I was at the age of 14, even where I was at the age of 17, and go, I've come so far. Like, I'm only 20 and I've leaps and bounds. I was talking to my mother yesterday about my younger siblings and just a bit of, you know, comments on maturity and things like that, and how my younger siblings who are in late high school are going. And I said to Mum, I said, were we like this? And Mum paused. She goes, I don't remember, because I've had 2 children since, you know, you graduated high school, but also
that's an awfully nice way to say yes.
Yeah, well, look, I wish my mother had said yes, because it would have been very affirming to me that I've become, I don't know, I hope a lot better of a human being. But at the same time, you know, it's so hard to remember exactly what you were feeling or what you were doing when you were, you know, back in middle school.
I mean, I'm just lucky I made it out.
Yeah.
And I still think, like, I am very fortunate enough where I can kind of take it as it goes.
Yeah.
Where if I end up with that little blue check mark next to my name, I can put Zevulous on a t-shirt and it'll sell.
Yeah.
I would be very happy doing that. I don't know if I could bring myself to do it full time, just because of years and years and years and just the uncertainty with it.
Yeah.
Like, and the ability for big tech companies who don't give 2 shits about me, to wipe it all out if they feel like it. There was this great article by the guy who runs Cloudflare, a DDoS service.
Yeah.
And he was just like, with one click, I can take I can take a website down.
Yeah.
That is power. And I don't want to be beholden to the whoever is in charge of TikTok in the US, or TikTok or ByteDance in China, or Mark Zuckerberg, or whoever Sheryl Sandberg replaces, or Elon Musk. I'm not sure how that deal is going to go. I just don't want to be beholden to them.
No, you don't want to be beholden to that. And it's interesting that we do see now creators going out to create their own platforms, things like Curiosity Stream, which, as a recommendation, if you ever do want some really interesting educational YouTube content, go and check out Curiosity Stream. It is the most amazing platform ever. And it's fascinating because you know, these people are sick of being beholden to, you know, executives and corporations and computers.
And I mean, I love what I do, both at work and with TikTok, with content creation. My goal is to do both of them for as long as I can. I should switch to YouTube at some point, and try and figure out how a camera works and all that stuff. But also, that's a lot of effort.
It is a lot of effort. As a videographer, hobby videographer myself, it is way too much effort for, you know, the funny videos that you create on TikTok. Well, thank you so much for coming on Content and Capable, Zevulous. I really loved chatting to you about your journey.
No, I appreciate it. I'm glad that it's pronounced content and not content. I wasn't sure if that was a pun or not, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's very, I don't know, a little bit weird. I definitely got to, maybe if I create a Patreon in the future, maybe that's how I name things, just puns. This is the problem when I live with and work with people who just use puns as a way to communicate.
I fail to see an issue.
I can't tell whether they're joking or not. It's really hard. Every Friday I run into the studio to chat with my boss. who hosts her show on a Friday morning, and she shows me all the tweets that she's got lined up of, things current affairs that have happened in Queensland, with a pun title and a stupid photo.
As it should be.
Yeah, it's great.
As it should be. Yeah. I'm strongly in defense of puns.
Oh, 100%, yeah. If you can make comedy out of a news story, go ahead, because it makes those things way more consumable. Where can people find you on the internet?
Yes, people can find me on TikTok. I have a Post-it note that I wrote down all the places so I didn't forget it. People can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter under Zevulous. That is Zevulous. I'm sure that'll also be linked somewhere in the show notes. I talked briefly about a newsletter that I run. It's called This Is Cool. If you go to zevulous.substack.com, you can sign up for that. It's free. I do it for fun because I'm reading all the stuff anyways. And then I also have a book. I have a book about how comedy is used to fight oppression called Two Fish in a Tank, How Jokes Can Save Our Fractured World. That's been out for about 6 months now, but it's definitely one of my favorite projects that I've ever done. You can find that on Amazon, and I highly recommend it. I have priced it at a point where I earn maybe 6 cents for every book sold, just because I think it's interesting. Yeah. The rest of the money goes towards Amazon. I apologize. I can't do much about that.
Amazon. And
convince your local bookstore to pick it up.
Oh, look. I have influence in that sphere, which feels very, very dangerous.
Woo!
I may ask around. Anyway, the other... Oh, yeah. Has there been any content that you've been reading, watching, listening, interacting with that you wanted to plug?
I read mostly nonfiction, but Professor Casey Feisler out of the University of Colorado, Denver, who's on TikTok under Professor Casey, convinced me to read. It's called The Circle by Dave Eggers. It is one of the more brilliant critiques of big tech. It's told very fiction. It's wonderful writing. It was released, I think, in 2013, but all of its lessons still hold true today. About halfway through it, I'm already scared for my life, so it's great. If you're a fan of nonfiction, I've been really enjoying Yuval Noah Harari's trilogy, Sapiens, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, and Homo Deus. Those are really good. I could go on and on about stuff. Adam Conover's The G Word on Netflix.
I'm yet to watch it. I'm so excited to sit down and watch it.
As a really big fan of Adam Conover, who gets a lot of inspiration from him, if you like anything I have said so far, please go watch that, because I really want there to be a season 2. Barack Obama's in it, and it's just one of the more wonderful TV shows I've ever seen about explaining the intricacies behind the American government and broader international sphere.
It's really interesting. I feel like there's this portion of the population who watched Adam Ruins Everything, who are now nerds who create content on the internet.
Without it, I've been watching Adam since the College Humor days. Yeah. I'm going to see him live in 6 weeks. And
that'd be so exciting.
If you haven't seen Adam Ruins Everything, watch that. Adam Conover, he does have a TikTok. It is very informational, but nowhere near as good as his Netflix show.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, you can find me at sam.the.journalist on Instagram and TikTok, at samobjournalist on Twitter. This week, I am going to plug... Oh, you had such a good plug, and now I'm I have no idea what I want to plug.
I also read a shit ton. So, I apologize. I have things out the wazoo.
That's okay. I got banned from reading in high school, so that's been trying to get back to using it. I'm going to plug the app Notion. It's this organizational / note-taking app. I've just recently installed it. I'm trying to transfer my organizational stuff to that to try to streamline things a little bit more. I'm the kind of person who has about 200 notes on my Apple Notes app, and some of them are just single words. In fact, there is one note, and I'm keeping it for ceremonial reasons, that just is in all caps, "He's drunk, right?" with a question mark beside it, which was a message I gave through a studio window to people who were live on air to see because we were listening to a speech and I didn't want to walk into the studio. But yes, I'm transferring over to that. It's been incredibly easy to use. It's free to use as well. And I've been enjoying it so far. I've been using it to plan my US trip at the moment, which is good because they've got some really great templates there, which have helped me. I've had to adjust it, of course, but like help me get an idea of what I need to pack and what I need to organize left.
I use Notion as well for some personal stuff.
Yeah.
In addition to TikTok, so it works well.
I've been blown away by how easy it is to use. That recommendation actually came from the Taha from Answer in Progress. They were plugging it on their channel when they're talking about organizational stuff. I don't know. I love their channel. Anyway, well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Zevulous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Content and Capable. You can follow the podcast socials at Content, the letter N, Capable on Instagram and Twitter. You can send a super boring email to us through contentandcapablepod@gmail.com. The art was done by Opia. You can follow them on Opia_art on Instagram. Opia is spelled OPIA. Feel free to message them about making art for your project. Our music was written, recorded, and edited by Nora Strauss-Riggs. You can find Nora at Kane_I, that's I as in the body part, on Instagram and Twitter. Feel free to message her about making music for your project or editing your podcast. I am proud to be a part of the Movie Night Crew Network, which features Of the Eldest Gods, a chapter-by-chapter Rick Riordan pod full of myths and legends, My Cabbages, an Avatar podcast that follows the true hero of Avatar, The Last Airbender, the Cabbage Cart Guy, Fandom's Gone Wrong, a show that discusses all things fandoms, the Movie Night Crew, join some friends as they react to some terrible, some meh, and some really great movies, and the Restricted section, a chapter-by-chapter Harry Potter pod with lots of spoilers all the time.
What's up, potheads? It's me, your host, Christina. Welcome to the Restricted section. No, we're not in Hogwarts. It's like a metaphor. Do you get it? Like, we're raunchy, and we get drunk, and we make sex jokes, and we have an all spoilers all the time policy. So, you know, it's like the Restricted section. I've been told that explaining jokes makes them funnier. If you've ever wondered how the Marauders map actually works, if you've ever thought that maybe Snape sometimes wears jeans, if you've ever thought that Draco and Harry are for sure in love, I mean, they're for sure in love. If you've ever had a hard time deciding who you'd rather bang, Bill or Charlie, obviously Charlie, then this podcast is for you. You don't even have to do the reading, we'll do it for you. Catch the Restricted section every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts, and find us online at Restricted Section Pod.
Content and Capable is a podcast all about answering the question, how do you adult? Don't forget to rate and review it on your favourite podcatcher, and I will see you next Monday for another episode.
That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.